Welcome to the session, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, Asamahle, Adam, Jolene, Malang. Welcome to the session. We've got Zoom user who's also joined. If you can kindly change your name so that we know who you are, that will be great. So today the session is on finding the equation of exponential graphs. So if you can kindly, try out the question on the screen, which is solving for x, that would be great. And we can then get some practice with what we're going to be trying today. So if we can try and solve for x, that would be great. Okay. All right. Let's have a look. Who else has joined? We've got Zimi, we've got Sipesihle Oratilwe, we've got Mello, we've got Mahlohanolo, who's also joined Kiabetswe. Well done for all of you for joining tonight. That's really great. Also for being consistent. I see some of your names. You've been attending all the classes, which is really great. And I hope that you've been revising as we go along. We are now on exponential graphs. And the last time I saw you, which was before the long weekend, and I hope you enjoyed your long weekend, we were doing the introduction to exponential graphs. And now we're going to be looking at finding the equation. Just like we had done for parabolas, and we had also done hyperbolas. And we're going to be doing now for exponential graphs. So we've come a long way with functions. We've got also Tokozani who's joined, and Sasetu. Okay, so I'm going to now have a look at the answer. What's your answer? If you can type in the chat and let me know. What answer did you get for this? What answer did you get? I've got only one answer here. Maybe some of you want to give me an answer as well. Who else wants to give me an answer and help me out with this question? I got x equals 5, x equals 5, x equals 5. Everybody says x equals 5. Ooh, it's moving away. Let's fix this. Okay, let's do this. So 2 times 2 to the power x equals 64. What are we going to do first? First, what we can do is we can take the 2 over and it will become divide. So it will become, I'm going to write it here. So it will be 2 times 2 to the x equals 64, right? We're going to take this 2 over and it's going to become divide. So 2 to the power x equals 64 over 2, which is 32. So 2 to the power x equals 2 to the power 5. And x equals to then 5 because they have the same base on both sides and we get rid of them. And x equals 5. Okay. Well done, everybody. So x indeed equals 5. And if you plug it in, you'll see that it is 5. Well done. X equals 5, right? So today we're going to come to solving the exponential graphs. Remember, we did all that work regarding the A, the B, and the Q, and We were finding, where does the graph belong in the A, the Q, and the B. How many of you have revised it? Have you learned all that already? Let me look in the chat. Okay. How many of you have revised that? That section. Can also do thumbs up for me. How many of you have revised that section with drawing the graphs? Have you all revised the drawing of the graphs? Yeah, Malang, you have. Who else? Only Malang. How many of you have revised the drawing of the graphs? Valerie, welcome. Who else? Okay, Sipasihla is also revised. Okay. Adam, you've also revised. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's look. Today we're going to go on to finding the equation of the exponential graphs. Okay, great. So let's start. I'm going to move this up and we're going to solve some exponential graphs and see what's going on with them, right? So here we have a graph. We've got an exponential graph. We've got a to the power x. There's nothing in front of the a. It's just a to the power x, right? Okay. Okay, so a to the power x. And this is an exponential graph with some points on it. Okay, so we've got some points on the exponential graph. Okay, so we've got a to the x and we've got points. Now let's see. What is the equation of this graph? We've got qx equals a to the power x. That is the equation. And we've got the graph that's shaped going towards the left, right? And just out of curiosity, what is the asymptote of this graph? What is the, what can I say, the y asymptote of this graph? Does anybody know what is the asymptote of it? What can you see? Remember we did asymptotes where we used the dashed line. What do you think the asymptote of this graph is? Without looking at any questions or anything, just looking at the graph, what do you think the asymptote is? Let's have a look at the chat and see if any of you are giving me answers. What is the asymptote of this graph? Okay, I've got some answers here. What is the asymptote? Right? Okay, so asymptote. Yes, it is 0. Y equals 0. Because the asymptote would be here at the bottom. Hey, see here. It would be on the 0 line. I just drew it slightly above just to show you, but it is on the 0 line, on the actual 0 line. That's the asymptote. It's 0. I can't say that there's no y asymptote there. The y asymptote is 0, right? So let's find a. So in order to find a, we need to choose a point that we can plug in. And I see one really good point here, which is this point here. 1 1/3. So to find the equation of an exponential graph, we look at the equation, find a point, plug it in, and find unknowns, right? So let's write some of those steps down. So finding equations. I think what I can do, I think it will be best if I just erase this part. And let's write some steps here, right? So finding equations. Okay. Number 1, find a point to plug in the equation. So I'm going to first say identify unknowns. Identify unknowns. which in this case is what? It's A, right? Number 2, find a point to plug in the equation to solve for the unknown. So find a coordinate pair to plug into equation to find unknowns, right? To find unknowns. Unknown. Okay, so find unknowns. Unknowns, it can be an unknown variable actually, right? So it's an unknowns, it's unknown variable, right? Okay, so find unknown variable or variables, right? Okay, so what point are we going to plug in? I said it might be very nice to plug in 1 and a third. Do all of you agree that that's the best point maybe to plug in, or what other point can we plug in? Let's have a look at the chat. Are you all happy with that point, 1 and a third, that we can plug in to find A? Because we've got X and we've got Y there. Yeah, I'm just waiting for some responses to see what you say. Is 1 and a third okay? You can just say yes and no, or you can show me thumbs up as well. Is 1 and a third suitable to plug into the equation to find the unknown? Yes, yes. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up now. Okay. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Valerie. Okay, so 1 and a third. And okay, we've also got you in Dumiso. So we're going to plug in 1 and a third. Thank you, Asamahle, Kiabet, Zimi, Marilyn. Welcome, Marilyn. Sade. Okay, you all agree. Yay. Okay, great. Thanks, Daniel. So let's plug it in. Let me move this up. So I'm going to plug it into the equation. What was our equation? Our equation was y equals a to the power x. And we're going to plug in 1 and a third into that, right? So we plug in 1 and a third, right? So the x is 1 and the y is a third, right? So let's see. So in the place, I'm going to say a third equals a to the power 1. So what will the value of a be? If some of you can give me an answer, what will the value of a be? What is the value of a? Okay, I'm getting some answers. Tomato says a third. A third. Asamatle as well, third. Okay. Yes. So a, because a to the power 1. So a is just a third. Therefore, we have the equation now. Y equals to a third to the power x. And if you go back to your notes from the previous week, remember we said when this is between 0 and 1, the curve goes to the left-hand side. If you look back at your notes, you'll see that, right? So this is the equation. Y equals a third to the power x. Okay. Any questions regarding this so far? Finding A? Finding A? Nope. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the question. It says, find A. So we've got A, right? Now it wants us to find P. So what point or coordinate are we going to use to find P? You can just type in the chat or unmute and let me know what coordinate pair are we going to use to find P. What are we going to use to find P? We have the equation now, which is y equals a third to the power x. What are we going to use to find P? Which coordinate are we going to use to find P? Anybody has an answer? Sipesihle, Melo, Asamahle, anybody has an answer? Which coordinate are we going to plug in to find P? I just want the pair. Which pair in the diagram? Which pair in the diagram are we going to use to find P? You can just type the pair, bracket X and then Y and then P. Which coordinate are we going to use to find P? Let's see. Trish, do you maybe know Rebone, Angela? Poitumelo, Daniel, Malang, Ronewa? Yes, -2 and P. I got one answer. What else? Anybody else have any answers that you plug in to find P? Yes, -2 and P. Okay, good. I'm getting that from a lot of you now. So we are indeed going to be using this -2 and P. So we plug that into the original equation and we find what P is, right? So the equation is y equals a third to the power x, right? So I think it will be best for me to write it here. Let me just erase this and write this neater. And we can use that space there to do it, right? So I'll call that number 2, but I'm going to write it here. So it's y equals to a third to the power x, right? And we're going to plug in -2 and P. So in the place of X, it's that, and in the place of Y, it's that, right? So we've got P, because it's Y, equals to a third to the power -2. Who's got an answer for me? What is P? We've got a third to the power -2. What is the value of P? Anybody has an answer? Adam's given me an answer. What about the others? A lot of you are saying 9, 9, 9, 9. That is indeed the correct answer. So P equals 9. So here we've got -2 and 9. Well done, everybody. Great. So we've got the equation and we've got P. How are you feeling about this question? Is it okay? Is it difficult, easy? Are you finding it comfortable to do this? Anyone has answers or questions regarding this particular question? Okay, not seeing any questions. Okay, great. That means you do understand it. Well done. This is great. So this one had no asymptote, right? So it was a bit easier. But questions with asymptote, the asymptote would appear at the end. Remember, we looked at that plus P or plus Q at the end, right? So just remember that when you look at another equation. I'm going to go on to the next one to have a look at the next equation now. Okay. Okay, great. Let's have a look at the next one, right? Okay, we've got another graph here. We've got y equals -3, and we've got also gh to the x plus I. Okay, so let's have a look at finding the gh and the I. Okay, so firstly, let's say, what does the I represent? What do we call that word? Anybody has a word for what the I represents? What does the I represent? Who's got the word for me? That important word. Who's got that word? Okay, we've got Adam who's saying asymptote. We've got asymptote, Adam saying asymptote. We've got Daniel, who's also saying asymptote. We've got Asamahle, who also says asymptote. Ketelo says coefficient. Okay. And we've got Tumelo saying the y value. And yeah, what else? Who else has something for me? Let's have a look in the chat. We've got, yeah, getting a lot of asymptote, 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 asymptote. Okay, so asymptote is indeed the right word used to describe I. So let's circle I. And this is the asymptote. And what is the asymptote here? What is the asymptote in this particular question? If you can just let me know in the chat, what is the asymptote that we're working with here? Yes, great stuff. It is -3 here, see? Y equals -3. So what do we plug in the place of I? We're going to plug in -3 in the place of I. So it's going to be, I think I was writing a different color now because otherwise it's going to be too much the same. Let's do this, move this to the side. And I'm going to say here Y equals G H G times H to the X -3, right? And that's equal to the Y asymptote, the -3, right? I'm not going to circle it, but I'll just leave it there. It looks neat like that. What can we do next? Now we need to find G and H, right? So we need to find G and H. What points can we plug in? What should we find first? What do you think? Who has an answer for me? What should we find first, G or H? And what point can we plug in? What should we find first, G or H, and what point should we plug in? Let's see. Sade, Marilyn, Angela, Sasetu, what do you think? Shall we find G and H first, and what point should we plug in? Daniel, Asamahle, what do you think? You should find G first, and you should plug 1 and -1. If you plug -1 and -1, you're still going to be left with 2 unknowns, which might be difficult. Yeah, that's why I think it might be better to plug in 0 and 1, because then you'll be left, yes, Matlakanola, that's right, because then we'll be left with 1 unknown, right, which will be better. We're ultimately aiming to find 1 unknown, right? So let's do that. So let's plug in 0 and 1 in there. So sometimes you can plug in like 1 and -1, and then you'll say, "Ooh, this is not working." Oh, and then obviously go back and you try the other one. So that's fine. You sometimes don't get it right the first time. You plug in the first one, and then you check, and then you plug in the next one, and then you'll see it will be fine, right? So this one, I'm going to say you plug 0 and 1, okay, into Y. So let's do that, right? So you plug 0 and 1 into Y, and I'm going to say this is X and this is Y. So the Y is 1, so it's going to be 1 equals to G H to the 0 minus 3. Now you see, because this is H to the 0, anything to the power 0 is 1. So we now get 1 plus 3 equals G. So G is 4. Can you see? If you would have plugged in 1 and minus 1, it wouldn't have worked because you would have been still left with G and H both being unknowns, right? So yeah, how is this looking so far? Maybe you can just type a word in the chat to let me know how it's looking so far, just so that I know where you're at. Matlochonolo, how is it looking so far? Tumelo, great, okay. Rabone, thumbs up, thanks for that. So it's looking okay. Okay, great, okay, you're all following, right? So I didn't want to plug 1 and minus 1. On your piece of paper there, you can try and then you'll see it's not going to work, right? So now we've got G and we've got I. So the last thing we need to find is H, right? So we need to find H. Now let's see, what do we have so far? We've got Y equals 4, which is the G, H to the X minus 3. What point can we now plug in? What point do you now want to plug in? Trish? Sipesihle, what point do you now want to plug in? Who's been very quiet? Roneva, you've been very quiet. Zimi? Demiso, Angela? Asamahle, you've been very quiet. Tokozani. What point can we now plug in? Yes, 1 and minus 1. So we're going to plug in the place of X, you're going to plug in 1 in the place of Y minus 1. So we now plug in 1 and minus 1. So it's minus 1 equals 4, H to the power 1 minus 3. Okay. So what will we find then for H? Now we need to solve for H. Okay. Anybody wants to give it a try and find H for me and let me know what the value of H will be. So you can give it a try and just type in the chat what the value of H will be, right? What is the value of H? Just type in the chat and let me know what the value of H is. Okay, I'm getting some answers. Adam, maybe if you can share as well, Sade or Oratilwe. Ketelo, maybe you can also let me know. Angela. Okay, I've got one answer here. Tumelo shared the answer. Matlochonolo, you've also shared. Thank you for that. Asamahle. Okay, so I've got your 4H equals to, you're going to take the 3 over, so it's minus 1 plus 3, which is 2 equals 4H, right? So H equals half. Well done. So we've got the final equation now, which is Y equals, what was G4 times half to the power X minus 3. And that is your equation officially for this graph, right? Okay. Everybody happy with that? So we've got G, we've got H, and we've got I. And if you go back to your notes, remember what we said, when the G is positive here, when the value is positive, it will be looking like this, the value of the graph, right? The graph will be looking like that. When the G is positive, the H is between 0 and 1, and then the I think we labeled it as Q the last time here. It was minus, and then the graph looked like this. Yeah, if you go back to your notes, you'll see that this graph was with all these values, it looked like that, right? Any questions regarding this? I know it's a bit of a long one, but yeah, if you follow the steps, you will get G, H, and I. Okay. Any questions regarding this one or comments even? Even comments is fine. Anybody has any comments on this one? How are you feeling about this one compared to the previous one? Is this one more complex? Is it easier? Adam wouldn't be -2. It will be 2 to the -1. That could work. 2 to the -1. I think, are you meaning that, Adam? 2 to the -1? Zimi, I think maybe we can clarify this last step here for you, which is here. So we have here -1 equals 4 dot h to the 1 -3. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 over there, and it's going to become +3. -1 plus 3 is 2. So 4h equals 2. So I say 2 over 4 equals h. And then 2 over 4 is half. That's where we got the half from. Does that make sense, Zimi? 4h. Zimi? So we've got h is 2 over 4, which is half. And yes, Adam, it can be 2 to the -1. That's fine. But yeah, easier, I think, to represent it as half. Okay, great, Simi. Thanks for that. Thanks for those questions. We're going to now move on to the next one since you all feel seeming comfortable with this and there's no further questions. I'm going to move on to the next one. And guess who's going to do the hard work in the next one? You all going to do it and you're going to give me the answers because it's your turn to try it, right? Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, I think you all can see it nicely. We've got here the graph of fx equals a dot 2 to the x plus 1. A is a constant, which means it's a number, passes through the origin as shown below. So it passes through the origin, meaning that this point here is 0 and 0. And yeah, you need to know what these things represent in the equation. I'm just going to write the equation a little bit bigger here on the side, just so that we have it. Y equals a dot 2 to the x plus 1. Okay, why is my 1 coming out like that? Okay, 2 to the a dot 2 to the x plus 1. You need to find that, show that a equals -1. So there we go. You can try it out. You need to find a value to plug in, and then we solve for the unknown. Let's try it. Just show me a thumbs up or say you found it once you find that a is equal to -1. So I know who's got the answer, right? Please let me know. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try it, that a equals -1. Just let me know once you have an answer. Yes, that's correct, Tumelo. Adam, you've got it. Okay. Tumelo, you've got an answer. Adam, you've got an answer. Daniel, Sipesishle. I'm going to wait for a lot of you to give me an answer. Please do let me know so I know where you're at. Simi, you've got an answer. Thanks. Well done. Marilyn, not so sure. Matlokonolo. Asamahle, you've got it. Yeah, Ketelo, Tsepang, Jolene. Malang, well done. Okay, a lot of you are giving me the answer where A is -1. That's great. Okay, let's have a look. Some of you also had one who's saying that it's a bit complicated. So let's have a look, right? So we've got here y or fx. I'm just going to write it as y, right? So y equals, is question 1, a dot 2 to the x plus 1. And I'm going to use this coordinate here, 0 and 0. So it's 0 equals a dot 2 to the 0 plus 1. Okay, so you're following. So we plug in 0 and 0, right? This is what we're going to plug in. That's why in the place of x, you plug 0, and in the place of y, you plug 0, right? Does that make sense so far, Ronewa? And Marilyn, also, you plug in 0 and 0. Remember, anything to the power 0 is 1. So 0 equals a times 1 plus 1. And then you take the 1 over. So -1 equals a dot 1. So therefore, a equals -1 over 1, which is -1. And that's the answer. Okay. Any questions regarding this one? A equals -1. So we have the equation now. We can rewrite the equation as y equals -1. Okay, that's crashing a bit there. Let me fix that. Y equals this is the equation. Y equals -1 dot 2 to the x plus 1. And we've got then the final equation for this, because we've got all the unknowns now, right? And we just have x and y. Ronewa, you don't always use 0 and 0. It depends on what coordinates they give you. Remember the previous one we used like -1 and 1, and whatever coordinates they give you, you're going to use that. So you're going to look, this one here, they gave us the origin, so we used it. But whatever coordinates they give you in the graph, you're going to use that. Okay. So A is -1. Right, so we got the equation. Let's try the next one. Determine the value of f minus 15. So where are we going to plug -15? Are we going to plug it in the place of x or place of y? In the place of x? Yes. So let's plug that in the place of x. So here we've got the equation here. In the place of x, you're going to plug in -15. So take your calculators out, and we're going to plug in the place of x -15. So it's going to be -1 times 2 to the power -15 plus 1. What answer do you get? Just type it in the chat because it's quite long. And let me know what you get. Correct to 5 decimal places. What's the answer? Correct to 5 decimal places. Five decimal places. Matlakhanola, we're placing it in the place of x because this is fx. So we've got fx, and in the place of x, they're plugging in minus 15. See, that's why we're plugging it in the place of x. So fx and f minus 15. See, so if I erase this, we represent the equation as fx, and here it's f minus 15. So it's fx, and in the place of x, we're plugging in minus 15. Okay, 0, 0.99. Yes, that's what I got as well. 0.99997. We all got the same, so it should be right. Those of you that didn't get this, ooh, I see some other kinds of answers as well. 1 point something, something, something. Please try it again. Try it again. Wish I could show you the calculator screen. I don't think I can show you, but minus 1 times 2 to the power minus 15 plus 1. Okay. 0.9999. Let me say it again. 0.999969484. But 5 decimal places will be 0.99997. And that is 5 decimal places. Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 decimal places. Great. Well done. Determine the value of x if x 0.5 lies on the graph of f. So let's do this. Let me move this up so we have more space. And we've got the equation y equals minus 1 dot 2 to the power x plus 1. And they say we're going to plug x and 0.5. I'm just going to convert the 0.5 to half, right? So in the place of x, it's just x, and in the place of y, it's half. And they say determine the value of x and lies on the graph of f, right? Determine the value of x if x and 0.5 lies on the graph of f. So very important, it's let me know if you're having a challenge with understanding where we're plugging in things. But obviously, if they tell us it's x and 0.5, in the place of x, it's just x, and in the place of y, it's 0.5, right? Which is half. So in the place of y, we're going to say half equals minus 1.2 to the power x plus 1. Let me know right now in this particular step if you're having a problem with this question, because it's so important for you to understand how we took this and we plugged it into the equation. So this is what I can show you. So the x, the y will be half, which will be there, right? And then the x, obviously, it's just this x here, that it remains x, right? And we're solving for x. Who's having a challenge with this? Please let me know. Anybody struggling with this concept? And just show me thumbs up if it's okay. Yeah, Jolene, thanks for that. Everybody else, Valerie, it's okay, okay. Sajay, it's okay, okay. So it's quite a few of you saying it's okay. Okay, okay, okay. Any questions? Okay, so basically we've got here, let me just re-explain it. So we've got x and 0.5. So this is the x and this is the y. So we're going to take the x and y and we're going to plug it into the original equation. So in the place of x, we're just going to leave x. Let's do this. In the place of x, we're just going to leave x. And in the place of y, we're going to plug in half, because it works with this coordinate pair, right? X with x, and then y is half, right? Okay. And then we're going to solve for x. Who wants to give this a try and let me know what is the value of x now from this equation? So we got half equals minus 1 dot 2 to the x plus 1. What is the value of x? Let me know in the chat. What is the value of x? Anybody has an answer? What is the value of x? Adam's given me an answer. Okay, Tumela also. What about the rest of you? Anybody else has an answer? Jolene's given me an answer there. Who else? Anybody else? Okay, so what we're going to say half minus 1 equals to minus 1 dot 2 to the x, because I took this minus 1 over there, right? So it's minus a half equals to minus 1 2 to the x, right? Because we have minuses on both sides, it just becomes positive. So half equals 2 to the x. And this is where the trick is, because half is in fact 2 to the minus 1 equals 2 to the x. And therefore, x equals to minus 1. So well done, Adam. That's the right answer. I think a lot of you stopped here, but you didn't know how to convert the the half to the 2 to the minus 1, right? So half is 2 to the minus 1. Remember, because at the bottom we have 2 to the 1. When you take it up, it becomes 2 to the minus 1, right? So I'll just make a note here on the side. So half is 2 to the 1, which is then 2 to the minus 1. When you take this up, the sign changes, right? Okay, so x equals minus 1. Okay, and that is the solution of this one. X equals minus 1. Okay, so it's just something you need to revise and just check it out again, because it is quite a concept that requires good knowledge of how to manage exponents and converting the exponents with powers. Yeah, okay. Okay, any questions regarding this? Nope, okay. And then lastly, I think you will like this one, and I'm sure that all of you know the answer to this. What is the range of f? Okay, I've made the graph very untidy, so I'm going to just erase here so you can see what is the range of f. Range is x or y. What is the range of f? We remember we've got an asymptote. Let me see what you're saying. Range is y. Yes, that's right. And we've got the asymptote. Remember, you all told me about the asymptote. The asymptote is here. Ooh, asymptote is 1. So what is the range of this graph? Can it go beyond 1, or must everything be less than 1? Because asymptote is at 1. Yes, well done. That's correct. I've got an answer there. Who else has an answer for me? I've got an answer here. Y is less than 1, the range. Yes, thank you. That's perfect. A lot of you are letting me know that it is y is less than 1. So that is indeed the range. The range is y is less than 1. Thank you. Thank you. Lots of answers for that. Y is less than 1. So all the y values have to be less than 1. See, they can't touch 1. Because remember, 1 is the asymptote, so they must all be less than 1. No, it can't be equal to 1, hey? Because it can't touch 1. It comes very close, but it doesn't touch the line. The graph doesn't touch the line, so it's not equal to 1. It's all less than 1. Okay, is that okay, Tumelo? Okay, so for exponential graphs, you have the equation with the unknowns, find points to plug it in, find the unknowns. And this one had a little bit of interpretation, right? Okay. Any questions regarding this? No. Okay. So I'm going to end off there and I'm going to hand you over to the mentor, Nikela, who's going to tell you more about the homework. Nikela, over to you.
Hey. Okay. Sorry guys, I was on mute. So before we actually go into homework, I have a little bit of a question, two quick questions. I'm going to just share my screen, and yeah, it's just something simple, just to get to know you guys a little bit better, and yeah, a little bit of research purposes as well. So I'm just going to try and share my screen quickly. Okay. So the first question I have is, what are your guys' favorite TikTok users or YouTubers that come from South Africa? So yeah, they either live in South Africa or they just are South African people. Please let us know. Can you type it in the chat, unmute? Yeah, but just give us an idea of what are some of the South African TikTok users or YouTubers that you guys are interested in or watching at the moment. It's fine if you don't know. Okay, cool. Okay, so we only have one. Okay. Okay, we're getting quite a few. Okay. Does anyone want to maybe unmute and just let us know what do you find interesting about these users? Yeah, I'd love to hear what people think. What kind of content are they making? Okay. Okay, so you guys can continue typing in the chat as you think of stuff. That's completely fine. Just the second part to this question, or kind of, yeah, something that you might not know is that our live classes are on our website. Sorry, not on our website. They are on our website. So this is where you can see all the live classes as they're streaming. So if yeah, it would be nice if you could tell your friends or your classmates so that they could also stream it whilst you were in the live class. Maybe you can share this link with them. So it's www.watobi.co.za. I think maybe I'll put it in the chat for you guys as well if you want to copy paste. Yeah, so please, try to share this with your classmates or your friends so that they could also maybe benefit and watch some of our live lessons that are going on. And it's not just for this grade, but it will be for all the grades as well. So yeah, that's kind of that. And I think I will then go to our homework. Okay, so for the homework, it is going to be functions and relationships once again under your topic. So you can scroll, search for the topic functions and relationships. Once you get there, it's going to be finding the equation of an exponential function and finding the equation of exponential functions with a negative initial value. So I'm going to leave this up as well. If you guys want to quickly take pictures or screenshot, or maybe just write it down. But that is it from my side. And yeah, well done on today's lesson as well.
Thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.